Critics are raving over this Game Pass update. Your Xbox experience is about to get a performance upgrade. We're getting this 4K graphics update for free. And I got a bone to pick with Screen Rant. Let's discuss. If you want to get your holiday shopping done early this season, check out the links down in my description because I have links to all sorts of stuff, games, consoles, accessories, you name it. I'm currently on a journey to 100,000 subs for this channel. I'm almost to 95,000, and it would be the best holiday gift of all if you could help me get to 100,000 subs and so I can rub it in Jimmy Champagne's face. What is up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Xbox Ready. As per usual, I have gathered a number of stories to share with you so you too can be Xbox Ready. First up, let's talk about the latest Day 1 Game Pass edition. I'm talking about Pentiment. Pentiment is a choose-your-own-adventure game made by Obsidian, also known as the guys who did Fallout New Vegas, they did The Outer Worlds, and most recently they put out Grounded. You play as Andreas Mahler, a journeyman artist who is currently living in the fictional town of Tasseling in the not-so-fictional country of Bavaria in the 16th century. After a murder most foul occurs at the local abbey, it's up to you to solve the case. Now, Pentiment, I understand, it's not going to be a game for everyone. Maybe you looked at the graphics and you were like, ooh, what's that? That's whack. I'm not into that. It is entirely communicated through text, so there is a lot of reading, so I know a lot of people are going to be turned off by that by default. In terms of gameplay and controls, there's really not much to talk about. You move around with the left analog stick, and you interact with things and talk to people using the A button. Was the game fun? Well, that's kind of a complicated answer. Was it engaging? Yes, I was thoroughly engaged. Before I knew it, I was super invested in the daily lives of these townspeople, these peasants, these monks and nuns living at the abbey. Every interaction with these characters seemed to yield a new juicy bit of gossip, some new information that you can then use further down the line to either shield them, protect them from consequences. You could blackmail them. You could literally just throw them under the bus with the information that you have, frame them, if you will. Pentiment is a game where even the smallest choices can lead to some pretty big consequences down the road. There is a time skip in the middle of the game, so you come back and you kind of see the actions of your past and how they affect the community in the future. And what I enjoy about the game is that it forces you to be decisive. You have to live with your choices for better or for worse. A lot of people I could see being frustrated with that aspect, but for me personally, I was like, okay, this decision, really got to think it through because it's final. I also thought that kind of moved the playthrough along a little bit further. It kept the pace up for me. You also have to come to terms with the fact that not everyone's gonna like you. You are in this town where there is some clear division, clear tension and bad blood between the people in the town and the peasants on the farm and the monks and the nuns that live in the abbey. If you help the people at the abbey out, people in the town are gonna get mad, and the same vice versa. That might close some doors to you, but it might open up some others that you didn't think possible. You are able at a certain point to explore the town pretty freely, and that includes the areas outside of town, the forest, the Roman ruins, the abbey. Once your investigation of the murder is underway, you do have some options in terms of how you tackle the investigation. There are different leads that you can investigate, but you can't investigate all of them. There is a time passing mechanic, and there's only so many hours in the day, so you don't have time to do everything. Again, that might piss some people off that are completionists, but this forces you to be strategic. Okay, if I go and investigate the ruins, then I won't have time to tail this guy who I'm kind of suspicious of. The art style of the game is meant to mimic the art style of 16th century Europe. And despite the fact that the game is 2D, I thought the characters were still very expressive, especially in the face. As we know, modern games can sometimes struggle with this aspect, so I thought I'd give them props on that. Very impressive. And they get a little help in conveying emotions through the dialogue, the text of the game. Depending on who you're talking to, the handwriting style is vastly different. There was some annoying stuff, like you can't skip any of the dialogue, and that was really frustrating in a certain part of the game for me. I was listening to people's confessions in the church, trying to see if I can get any tea, any dirt on anyone that would lead me to the murderer. And every time, once the priest was done, as they would do in a real church, they had this long spiel about how their sins are forgiven and blah, 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 blah. I couldn't skip any of that, and I listened to like 6 confessions. Now, this game's probably gonna fly under the radar a little bit with games like Modern Warfare 2 and God of War Ragnarök out, but if you're looking for a smaller, more thoughtful experience, more of a passion project, then you should definitely check this out. Next up, this new update is going to improve your Xbox PC app. Now, Phil Spencer, leading up to this, had been teasing an update for the PC app, but then he tweeted out just a couple days ago, "The Xbox app on PC runs faster and feels smoother after this week's update. Proud of the team for listening to feedback from players and delivering a big performance improvement under the hood." Now, from my personal experience, I have noticed an improvement in the PC Xbox app. I don't really game on PC as much as I do on consoles, but Jimmy has been on the channel recently being very critical of the Xbox app on PC, and it seems to be like this latest update is actually doing pretty well for people. The replies to Phil Spencer's tweet are largely positive, which is a good sign because on Twitter, no one is afraid to go into your replies and say, "Hey, this sucks," and tell you exactly what they think. That is the good and the bad part of Twitter. There is apparently more on the way in terms of updates to the PC Xbox app. According to Dualshockers.com, they say the anticipated big update, on the other hand, introduces a new release for the app along with multiple fixes and performance enhancements. One of the fixes that comes with the update makes the change drive file management option visible only when the system has more than one drive available. The change drive feature is something that allows you for whenever you download a game, they automatically go to the storage device of your choosing. You don't have to do it manually. You could say, "Hey, I want all Xbox One games and older to go on my hard drive, and the newer games, the Xbox Series X and S optimized ones, to go to my solid state drive." That also apparently works for external drives too. They say another fix focuses on a user browser experience and fixes an error scenario that occurs when a bundle installation is canceled. These fixes complement a newly added option that allows choosing the installation directory of the game without having to initiate the download process. Now, this shows that Xbox is clearly putting in some work on the PC side of things. It seems to be a focus of theirs going forward because Phil Spencer recently came out and said, yeah, console Game Pass growth has been slowing down a little bit, but on PC it's been skyrocketing. There is a whole market that we can tap into with all these people who own gaming PCs. This is all good news because obviously PC is part of the Xbox ecosystem, and Xbox, quite frankly, has an uphill battle to fight on PC because of Steam. Steam is like the default launcher, so hopefully they can continue to work on the Xbox app, continue to improve it, both in its performance and its features, so they can get a little bit more people to say, okay, I like Steam, but I'm gonna also use the Xbox app as well. Next up, we are getting another free next-gen update. That is right. This was supposed to come earlier this year, but it got delayed because the developer was working on another project, a little indie title known as Cyberpunk. Yes, I am talking about The Witcher 3. It is finally getting a next-gen update on December 14th. I'm gonna have to jump into it again, knowing that my backlog is like crazy right now. I have so many games to play, and I'm probably just gonna jump back into The Witcher 3 for the 100th time. I'm so excited I had to bust out my other Witcher sword. This is my silver sword. This one is for monsters. Many of you have seen my other Witcher sword in my videos, the steel one for humans. Yes, the official Witcher account on Twitter said the next-gen update for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is coming on December 14th, free for everyone who already owns the game. For more details and gameplay reveal, tune in to Red streams next week on their Twitch channel. And that's such a beautiful thing. Now, as a reminder, this is something that was announced back in September of 2020, nearly 2 years ago. They were planning on releasing the next-gen updates for The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk in 2021, but they were like, guys, honestly, our hands are full with all these updates for Cyberpunk 2077, making it playable on older consoles, bug fixes, things like that. We do not have time. We're gonna have to delay them until 2022. And then there was some more drama. They came out with a letter in February saying, hey, it's gonna probably be delayed until Q4. And oh yeah, we were outsourcing this update to Saber Interactive, and instead we're gonna work on it in-house. So there was a lot of drama going on, but glad to see an official release date for this update, December 14th. Hopefully they stick to that because, like I said, I am just itching, looking for any excuse to jump back into that world. Next up, we gotta talk about this article from Screen Rant. Grabbed my attention for all the wrong reasons, of course. It says, the 10 harsh realities of owning an Xbox gaming console. Wow, a hit list on Xbox. You know, I criticize Xbox all the time, but it's like only fans of Xbox can do that, not outsiders, not the media. This all stems, of course, from the release of God of War Ragnarök. I knew this was going to be a slog, this article, when I got to the first point. The first point is Xbox is ignoring its IPs, its old IPs. They say one of the things that makes the lack of big first-party Xbox titles sting all the more for loyal fans is the fact that a lot of the console's best exclusives of all time are from franchises that Microsoft has since abandoned. New IPs can be amazing as well, but there are some great potential Xbox series that the company is wasting. Titles like Crimson Skies, and a whole host of rare properties like Viva Pinata. Viva Pinata, yes, the great Xbox exclusive. That was, okay, I don't mean to throw shade at Viva Pinata, because that was fun back in the day. But I feel like Viva Pinata is pretty low on the totem pole when it comes to fans wanting things rebooted, wanting franchises revived. And they mentioned this in the article, but hello, they are working on a Fable reboot, and they're working on the Perfect Dark reboot, and this totally ignores the work that Xbox had been doing up until this year of bringing back old games and making them backwards compatible on these new consoles. No other company was doing that. PlayStation didn't get that until like, oh, we bundle it in to PS Plus Premium, and we're only gonna give you like 1 or 2 classic games every month. And the next point, Game Pass could be bad for AAA game production. Wow, where have we heard this before? Now, this is something that people bring up, I don't know, every other month, because they're afraid that if we shift away from the traditional video game sales model, 1-for-1 for customer, that suddenly quality is gonna dip, developers aren't gonna make any money, they're gonna be living out on the streets homeless. And I've talked about this on the channel before, but every developer I talk to does not seem to share that opinion. And we know that Xbox just a year ago won Publisher of the Year for Xbox Game Studios, so at least from the critical standpoint, the games are still of good quality even though they're shifting to this Game Pass model. They say even former executive Ed Fries called out the risks of the Game Pass model on the Xbox Expansion Pass podcast, comparing it to the impact of Spotify on the music industry. Now guys, I know that Spotify kind of messed things up for the music industry, but you know what was really great for customers, for consumers. Oh great, there's this option where I can pay a certain amount of money per month and listen to all my artists' favorite songs rather than buying each of their albums individually, even if I only like 1 or 2 of the songs on their album. Now again, I am not a game developer and I am not a fortune teller. I cannot see into the future and tell you the impact that Game Pass is going to have on AAA game production. It seems to be okay for now, and in the meantime, it is a huge win for consumers. We have this option now where instead of shelling out hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars for games, of paying a flat rate every month and getting access to those same titles that we were going to play anyway. And forgive me if that sounds more appealing than being like, oh boo-hoo, the video game industry instead of making $2 trillion is going to make $1.9 trillion. Oh no. And of course you can't have an article like this without bashing the Series S. The poor Series S, man. They say the Xbox Series S is too far below the Series X in terms of specs. Now yes, the Xbox Series S is not as powerful as the Series X. We get it, we know this. The people who buy it know this, because they're not looking for the most powerful console. They're seeing the price of the console and they're saying, hey, $250 to $300, that sounds really appealing to me again as a consumer. Now I can understand how that console could age a little bit faster than my Xbox Series X here, but for now and for at least the next couple of years, it performs very, very well. It runs a ton of games at even 120 FPS. Yeah, sure, the resolution is gonna take a hit, but everyone that I talk to who owns a Series S, and I own a Series S, are happy with it. The lack of memory on the Series S is a little bit of a concern, especially for third-party developers. I have voiced this in the past. I wonder how Xbox is going to navigate that going forward, especially as we leave last generation behind, the Xbox One consoles, and go and focus entirely on the new generation, the Series X and S and PC. This next point makes me laugh. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Xbox refuses to explore VR. I don't know how many console gamers are just chomping at the bit to play VR games, to have a VR experience. A lot of people were really excited about the PSVR 2, and then they came out and said, hey, it's gonna be $550, and everyone was like, oh, never mind, I don't actually want to spend that kind of money on that. Because let's be real, I'm probably gonna play 1 or 2 games, it's probably gonna be pretty cool, but then I'm gonna set it aside in the corner and it's gonna collect dust. That's what my MetaQuest is doing right in the corner right there. Overall, I just don't understand why when a game comes out, like God of War Ragnarok, that everyone is suddenly like, oh, what's Xbox doing, man? What's Xbox? Let Sony do their thing, man. I don't know why people have to look at PlayStation and be like, okay, let's list everything wrong with Xbox. And sure, Xbox has had its struggles over the past 2 years. years. 2022, especially with the first party output, has been super light, but I feel like there's a lot to look forward to going into next year. I feel like they're in a good place. Game Pass is profitable, the Xbox Series consoles are selling pretty well. Hopefully they can deliver on all that goodwill and the investment people are making into their services and their hardware, and deliver some really good games like Starfield, like Redfall, Forza Motorsport 8. But if they come out and they're kind of like, I feel like the pressure is gonna definitely be on for Xbox. But I'm optimistic. Anyways, guys, that's all the news I have for today. Thanks so much for tuning in for another edition of Xbox Ready. I'm currently on a journey to 100,000 subs for this channel. I'm almost to 95,000, and it would be the best holiday gift of all if you could help me get to 100,000 subs, and so I can rub it in Jimmy Champagne's face.